This, as requested by Gunsling952, is a story of a cozy willow tree and their best friend Squirrel. I'm going to start prevaricating while I think of something, but why don't we start with in the time before time, when giants roamed the earth and dragons dominated the skies. Everything was quiet, peaceful. Man had not yet discovered fire. Woman had not yet discovered man. They lived separate lives. And some would say they were better for it. Men are trash. Willow trees, however, are not trash. Willow trees are spirits of learning and dreams and intuition and spirituality, and many of them rooted near rivers, which act as liminal boundaries to the dream world, to the spirit world, to places beyond time, space, physical matter. And over time, many of these willow trees rooted too deeply. They lost the ability to move. They stagnated, unlike the waters which they guarded. And from time to time, these trees lost in their dreams of ideas that will never be and lives that will never be lived wake. And they looked around and realized that the world was leaving them behind, that the dragons had been replaced by creatures of metal and fire and corruption, and that the giants no longer walked the earth. They had laid down to slumber, and from their bones and bodies, mountains had sprung. Max did not expect that. More aeroplanes, Guns, more aeroplanes. And seeing the world had changed so much for what to them was the blink of an eye, many decided to go back to their dreams, to sleep the sleep of the tree, of sap and bark and sunlight, until time itself loses all meaning, until space itself runs out. It was during one such awakening that our tree, young as willow trees measure time, old as squirrels measure time, awoke to find a squirrel perched, precariously perched, on a branch. 2 feet, tail, hand, all tense, extended for balance, the other hand reaching desperately for the tree knew not what, floating on the surface of the river as it ran past. And the tree, having awoken from its sleep beyond time, beyond space, beyond meaning itself, was still blessed with a small measure of foresight, and knew that if it did not act in this very moment, this squirrel would fall. And in those last lingering moments of foretelling, it shuddered. Its trailing frond-like leaves, capturing whatever it was. Again, it's a tree. It knows not what this item is. And brushing it towards the bank. And in the same motion, the leaves blowing and to the squirrel, an unseen and unfelt wind, ushering the squirrel away from the danger, away from the placid, deceptively clear waters beneath the tree's boughs, and further to its bole, to its trunk, to that core of stability that traps and holds the trees in time when their minds are cast adrift. The squirrel, spooked, scared, a little confused, for squirrels are creatures of light and life and wind, and they know when a wind has blown. They feel it in their fur, they feel it in their bones, and it did not feel a wind. It felt only surprise. Ran back up the branch, from where it had been ushered to the trunk, saw that its prize, merely a gleaming scrap of metal that had reflected sunlight and caught its eye, was waiting for it on the banks beneath the roots of the willow tree, was torn. As many of us are torn. Do we reach for the shiny? Do we go for what we know, what we want, what that short-term gratification of treasure? Or does it stay where it is and try to understand what just happened to it? Does it consider the possibility that the world it knew is bigger than it thought? And the tree, still only half awake. Trees are slow. Trees are old and hurry never. Mumbled, half asleep. Go. I will be here next time. And the squirrel, unsettled by the talking tree, something which had never happened to it before, heeded the tree's words and dashed, sprang down the trunk of the tree for the shiny piece of metal that had originally caught its eye, clutched it up in two hands and scampered off into the distance, pausing to look back only once. That's not where our story ends, however. The squirrel never forgot this occurrence. The trees never forget, willow trees least of all. And the squirrel returned many times after, hoping to understand what had happened to it on that day. The tree never truly awoke again, not in the squirrel's lifetime at the very least, but in those moments where it crested the wave of wakefulness, it was grateful for another constant in a life dictated by, from the tree's perspective, rapid change. And whenever it was aware of the squirrel, or whenever it had been aware of the squirrel, more accurately to say, it always took the time to usher something else from the river, a thank you for this small creature keeping it company through the long, uncounted years of its life. And the squirrel, observing the tree, observing how it weathered storms and time and the passage of years, and collected this knowledge. As it collected the trinkets the tree left for it, it taught others of time and space and the kindness of beings so far beyond its knowledge that they may not have been beings at all. And in this way, the squirrel grew closer to the universe and understood that we cannot endure life without others, and we cannot see the vast enormity of the universe and creation, but we can take time and pleasure in the little things and sharing them with others. And that was a story about a cozy willow tree and his squirrel friend. Gunst, I hope you liked that. I'm going to go back to playing Destiny and shoot some stuff now. That was unexpectedly philosophical. But YouTube, thanks so much for watching. As ever, please consider subscribing. Let me know what you thought of the story in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time that someone redeems that channel point redemption.